It's time!
3, 2, 1, go. Get up, let me begin. This is 𝒕𝒊𝒏. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is 𝒕𝒊𝒏. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the UFC 274 preview show here at the Right Way Sports Network. My name is Michael Daly, and before I introduce my awesome panel of MMA experts, I need you to follow along TWSN's Patreon page, patreon.com/TWSN, where not only can you get a ton of great bets on the UFC, but you can get it on pretty much any sport that we offer bets on. So make sure you do yourself a favor and you check out patreon.com/TWSN. With that being said, though, now I can introduce my amazing co-host. First and foremost, we have the CEO, the brains behind this operation, Malik Wright. Malik, what's going on, dude?
Let's go. It's like now I was trying to get hyped like one of those fighters do, you know, when Bruce Buffer's announcing them. Yep. I appreciate the awesome introduction, though, Mike. Appreciate it.
You got it. And that was Malik. Now we're going to go to the operations manager, the guy who helps everything as well here at TWSN, Daniel Alameda. Daniel, great to have you on here as always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm excited, man. This is a card that I'm excited. I'm genuinely curious to see, you know, you guys' opinions, because I got some opinions definitely for the main card. So I'm excited to see what you guys have to say.
When don't you have interesting opinions, Dan? I mean, all of us have interesting opinions, but I know you always like to spice it in. Last but not least, we got Ted Ashbrook, MMA expert himself, combat sports expert as well, like these two gentlemen. Ted, what's going on, man?
I'm excited, Mike. It feels like a holiday. Canelo, UFC pay-per-view, two title fights on the line. 273 show is electric. I'm rocking my Volkanovski shirt. I predict I'll be rocking a Gaethje shirt for our 275 show, but we'll get to that.
And Alex Volkanovski, he might have himself a fight lined up pretty soon, but we'll talk about that later in the summer. Let's talk about UFC 274. And right off the top, we got a bantamweight fight. We got Fernando Garcia and Journey Newsom. Guys, I think this is a fight where Journey Newsom is trying to prove that he belongs on this roster. But Ted, I don't know how you feel about this one, though. I think Fernando Garcia is going to get a decision win.
Yeah, Fernando, they call him Fernie. I love him. He's an electric little character. There's a couple fights like this on this card where it's people definitely trying to prove a point, and I think that's where we get a fun fight. Obviously, we'll have a high-paced bantamweight fight. I'm looking at that flyweight fight here and a couple fights as well, as some people trying to prove themselves on this pay-per-view audience. I think this one is a toss-up. I do think I learn Fernie Garcia. I think he's just more well-rounded, but I think we've got a pretty electric fight to open this card out. I like it. I like the placement on the card. I like the matchup. I think Fernie's probably just a more well-rounded mixed martial artist in this one.
I like what you said there. It's electric. Now, Malik, do you think there's a shot that Journey Newsom can hold off the newcomer, or how do you see this one going?
I actually have Journey Newsom winning this fight.
Okay. Wow.
Starting me off early, I think Journey Newsom is going to prove. He has a lot more to prove in this fight. Obviously, he's fighting for, I don't want to say his UFC's career, because that kind of gets, I would say, overblown a little bit. But I will say that I think that if Journey Newsom is able to incorporate his grappling, I think it'll be a tough night for Fernie Garcia. And I fully expect Journey Newsom to do that.
See, Daniel, I don't know how you feel, because Malik just brought up the grappling aspect to it. I think Garcia at least can try to implement his submissions here. I don't think he will get a submission win, but I also don't think he's going to get a stoppage either. But I do think the grappling aspect of it could add an interesting wrinkle. So how do you see this one unfolding, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Newsom. Right, I saw in his last couple fights, he's fought some guys with long reaches, like at least I think 6-7 reach advantage. Both of his past two fights, this one they have the same reach, and I'm gonna fade, Garcia in his UFC debut, so I'm gonna go Newsom.
Okay, so Daniel, you're some betting lingo, if you will, because we're talking about the Patreon a little bit earlier. Some betting lingo. He is fading, and he is going with Journey Newsom. So let's see on that. So that's the opening fight. Let's go to the second fight on the card, a strawweight bout. This is a good one. Ariane Carnelossi, Lupi Godinez. Malik, start us off on this one.
It's funny. Me and Teddy have been talking literally all week about this card at length and in detail. And I think that we both see the same row of things. And it's funny, Ted, I stayed up till late last night. Me and Ted got off the phone, I want to say at about midnight or so. But I stayed up late last night watching Lupi Godinez fights and watching Ariana, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name without butchering it.
Carnelossi.
Where I think why Lupi's the favorite in this fight, because I was trying to me and Teddy were trying to pinpoint it all week. Like, why is she the favorite? Lupi is a very, very good grappler. Like she's a really, really good chain wrestler, I would say. And I think that Ariane, she relies a lot on her power shots. And even when she finds herself in takedowns and getting takedowns, it's almost like she falls into it. It's not like a lot of technique involved. I would say that Lupi's is the better wrestler. The interesting part is going to be if Lupi's going to be able to get it to the ground, because if we're talking about standing up, I definitely give Ariane the advantage. She's a huge power puncher, and I think she could put her lights out. That being said, I've been kind of back and forth on it. It's funny. Me and Teddy were like, Ariane, there's no way she should be the underdog in this fight. And I think last night sort of like opened up a revelation to my eyes as to why she is. But probably going against my better judgment, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna take Ariane, in this fight. I think I'm not gonna say she's gonna start her, but I think she's gonna do damage to Lupi and force Lupi to start taking those desperation shots. That's what I think is gonna happen. I think Ariane is gonna beat up Lupi tonight.
Wow. So actually, for a while, I thought you were gonna go with Lupi, but okay. So you think Ariane has a shot to hold off any grappling attempts or anything like that?
She has to put it on her early. She has to. Because if Lupi starts to get that wrestling involved and starts making it ugly and grappling her and, getting her in the clinch and stuff like that, this could be a fight that quickly slips out of her hand. I also do question if Ariane has a good gas tank as well. I do.
That is true. That is something that could be in question. Well, Ted, Malik brought you up. What's your take on this fight?
Malik already talked about. I don't see what the odds makers are seeing this. I can see this as a toss-up fight at like plus 150 or whatever Carnelossi's at. I got her in several parlays. I think Malik's probably right. Lupi is probably a more technical grappler, but she's so much stronger than Lupi. You can fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure Carnelossi was the most USADA tested fighter in like the past year, like 23 times USADA. So like, she's that type of strong. But yeah, I just, as an underdog, I just think Lupi's one of these girls, like she's going to make like an Angela Hill fame for herself where she's fighting a lot. She's not always winning a lot. I think she had that, like she fought like on 2 cards back to back or something in 2021 or something like that. But Carnelossi is a beast. I wrote about her in my Unranked Champions article. I think she's the next to get a number next to her name. The only 2 losses she has in her career is her pro debut to Amanda Hebos. Her pro debut, she fought Amanda Hebos and lost.
Not bad.
Not a bad loss.
Only other loss is her UFC debut to a name I just brought up in Angela Hill, who's a ranked contender. That's not a bad loss in your debut either. I just think she's only losing to top competition, and I think Lupi is more of a journey fighter in the UFC. I think she's fun to watch. I think she'll fight a lot, but I don't think she's got enough to beat Ariane Carnelossi.
This will be an interesting fight. And actually, before we get to Daniel, I want to bring up something in the comments here that Chase brought up. Ariane did get tired against Angela Hill. So like Malik brought up, and like you said, Ted, what factor will that have in the fact that she is so heavily tested by USADA? Maybe, now she has that figured out because she knows that people are watching her. So Daniel, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, after Ted was explaining, I kind of wanted to switch, but I'm going to go with my guns. What I saw from my research was Lupi. I love her gas tank. that's the biggest thing. I came away her gas tank ability to push the pace for 15 minutes. And I'm going to just go with that. I'm going to go with, she does that for 15 minutes. She gets Ariana tired, and I think she wins with the decision. So it's going to be, I'm very curious to see, at the beginning of the fight, how does the physicality of Ariana play out? But I think the ability to push the pace for 15 minutes, I think she'll get it done there.
Wow. So it seems like you're the lone wolf here because Malik and Ted, they got Carnelossi. So let's see though. Daniel, I give you credit for taking that one. But
yeah, what about you?
What about you?
Well, no, I'm with you guys. I think Carnelossi. I think the thing with Carnelossi is that her power, I think, is something that a lot of people don't give her enough credit for. And that was actually something that I didn't know with USADA testing. So the fact that she is natural, right, I think could play a factor into this one. I don't know if she gets a stoppage, though, because Lupi Godinez, the fact that she fought October 9th, October 16th, and now is having such a long layoff, I think is going to help her, and I think will help the conditioning part. So I don't think she'll get stopped by Carnelossi, but we'll see. We'll see with that one. So that was the second fight of the card. Let's go to the third fight of the card. Daniel, we'll begin with you. Clayton Rodriguez making his UFC debut after he debuted on Dana White Contender Series last September. He's taken on CJ Vergara. Daniel, what's your prediction on this one?
Yeah, it's very similar, right? I only see Vergara winning if Rodriguez slows down, if Rodriguez isn't able to, in the third round, if he doesn't have the same gas tank. But I expect it's a little different. I like personally going with the guys in the UFC debut. I don't know what the stat is on how they perform in their debut, but I think Rodriguez is going to come out first 2 rounds. I think he gets a finish.
See, Daniel, I want to agree with you, but I can't, though, because I just think CJ Vergara, in a way, it's kind of like what we talked about with Journey Newsom, and there's a few other fighters we can bring up, too, on this card who are really trying to prove. But with CJ Vergara, if you can hang in there with Ody Osborne, I think you can hang in there with Clayton Rodriguez, Ted. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, you kind of said exactly what I planned on saying is I'll admit when I don't really know who somebody is, I missed Clayton Rodriguez Contender Series fight. I had to ask Malik who he is the other day, and Malik said he leans Clayton Rodriguez, so I looked into it, and what I just don't see is why he's like a -300 favorite. He looks like a better fighter maybe, but CJ Vergara has been UFC tested against somebody that's not an easy debut in Ody Osborne. And I just don't think there's almost no fight. Tell me the last 125 fight we've seen that wasn't competitive. Like that at that weight, there's no -300 favorite. So I think what Malik sees is probably right. He's probably a better fighter. He's probably going to win. As far as Patreon betting goes, I wouldn't touch that one though at those odds. I think it's probably 29-28 in someone's favor. And who knows, maybe Vergara just saw enough in his first fight and he's going to be too much. I don't know. I just 2 Contender Series bets, only 1 UFC fight between them. I don't know enough to really have a bold call on this one.
Well, Malik, you know about Clayton Rodriguez. What's your opinion on this one? Who will win?
Clayton Rodriguez is going to win this fight.
Okay.
He's a much better striker. If I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think CJ Vergara belongs in the UFC. To be completely honest with you, I think he's very durable, and I don't think he's going to get finished in this fight. But in terms of his striking acumen, I don't think he's on a level of Clayton Rodriguez. I think that he'll be getting his walking papers probably after one more fight in the UFC. But I think Clayton Rodriguez is a future contender actually at this weight class. I do.
So with a loss, he'd be 9-4. You think 9-4 is bad enough to get booted?
Well, I just don't think. I mean, his record could be, what it is. We've seen guys, for instance, in the UFC with better records than that. What's my
Let's talk about these cuts we've been seeing. These cuts from the UFC are crazy.
Sunao, what's his name?
Sunahele?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I listen. It's a lot like what we see. It's going to sound disrespectful what I'm going to say, but you guys remember Chris Matinho taking on?
He just got cut.
He got cut.
I didn't know that. But Chris Matinho taking on. She took on Sean O'Malley, and then he fought Guido Canetti. I think I want to say that was his next fight, and everybody was saying Guido Canetti is going to lose this fight, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are seeing. Like, you could be durable in one fight, but how long can durability keep you in the UFC? Like 𝒔𝒊𝒏 𝒂𝒂, he's durable, he's tough. Sure, that's good. It's Ode Osbourne. Also, to Ode Osbourne's credit, Ode Osbourne gassed in the 3rd round. Like Ode Osbourne gassed in the 3rd round, and 𝒔𝒊𝒏 𝒂𝒂 started to come on strong in the 3rd round, but it was just a little too late. But like Ode had a gas tank issue in that fight. I'm sorry, I think a person with a less gas tank issue and who doesn't sometimes hold back on their shots like Ode does sometimes do, and sort of just like stare at his opponent. I think Clayton Rodriguez is going to absolutely rock 𝒔𝒊𝒏 𝒂𝒂 in this fight. I don't think he puts him out, but I think he's going to toy with him in this fight. I don't think it'll be close, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's a possibility of that, but I don't know. I mean, I think if you make your Dana White Contender Series debut in September and then you make your UFC debut in November, and even if you get rocked in this one, so to speak, like you think, Malik, I still think you need more of a sample size, though. I just right now.
No. I said I think he'll get another opportunity in the UFC after this fight. I just don't think like this is like I don't think the calling card for 𝒔𝒊𝒏 𝒂𝒂 could be like, hey, I went the distance with Ode Osbourne after getting my ass kicked rounds 1 through 2, and then coming on strong late in the 3rd round because Ode gassed out, and then I got my ass kicked by Clayton Rodriguez, which is going to happen tonight. I mean, that's your calling card can't be durability. If that was the case, ख़RIS would have a new 5-fight contract in the UFC. Yeah, and still he's cut.
I don't know. I just think Vergara's a little more talented than Moutinho. That's just my opinion.
That's fine. He can be more talented. I agree. He is. I think, and ख़RIS Moutinho is a friend of TWS in here. And I mean this in the most respectful way. She's trash. He's the worst fighter I've ever seen. I don't know which way to say it. But I will say this right now. I don't know. KK might be up there. You guys know I got to talk about her. But no, Clayton Rodriguez is going to absolutely beat your man up. But it's fine.
All right, we'll see. So we're going to go to the next fight on this card because I think we all said what needed to be said for that one. Let's talk about Tracy Cortez in a flyweight battle against Melissa Gatto.
This one's kind of a heater.
Yeah, talk about it, Ted.
I like this fight. Now this one, the odds makers got right. I'm pretty sure this one's a straight toss-up. These girls are really good. This is probably the future of this weight class. You kind of hate to see when they do like a prospect barn burner like this because one of them has to take their first UFC L. I don't think either of them have lost in the UFC. I know Tracy Cortez has 1 loss, but I think this is one Malik kind of won me over on too because this was a toss up to me. I think Gatto's just nasty on the ground, and I think this fight's stylistic potential takes place like over 10 minutes on the ground, and I think that's just where she's going to outpoint her. I don't think neither one of these girls are getting finished. These girls are tough. They're both really good. They're both going to win their next fight after this regardless. But I think I'm going to lean against my heart and go Melissa Gatto. No disrespect, T-City.
Malik?
I'm going to explain to you why Melissa is going to win this fight. And if you guys can tell, like I'm very like focused on this card. A lot like how I was focused with the Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier card a few months ago. I've done a lot of research for this card dating back to months. But let me explain to you why Melissa Gatto is going to win. Ted mentioned that Melissa Gatto is absolutely filthy on the ground. She hasn't even had to show that yet in the UFC. If you ask me, Melissa Gatto is the female version of Tony Ferguson. Listen to what I'm saying. She's the female version of Tony Ferguson. What made Tony so nasty? If you took Tony to the ground, if you got in close quarters with Tony, he would do the blades. What's the nickname he has to Tony? Ted, he calls it like blades of something he calls. But is it where he just like completely
cut you up?
Yes, Melissa does that. She's like Tracy's route to victory in this fight. Let me be clear because Ted was super nice about it. I'm going to be very real and very unfiltered about it. Tracy has no chance standing up with Melissa Gatto. Melissa Gatto's hands are certified, and she will absolutely touch Tracy Cortez. But here's the problem. When Tracy Cortez takes her to the ground, my problem, because that is her route to victory, taking her to the ground. But my problem is what happens when she takes her to the ground. To me, when I watch a lot of Tracy Cortez, I see a lot of inactivity on the ground, a lot of lay and pray almost. It just hold your opponent down. Melissa is super active off her back. If you don't believe me, go watch Sierra Eubanks, her last fight with her. Melissa's throwing up elbows, throwing up hooks, kicking people off. I mean, there's not like a lot of control time that happens when Melissa Gatto hits the ground. And I think that Tracy Cortez is going to find herself in a blender. When she gets in closer, she's going to eat elbows, she's going to eat hooks, and she's strong too. She's a girl that can stop her on the feet as well. But I think when Tracy gets her to the ground and Tracy realizes how strong Melissa is, because Melissa's strong as hell. When Melissa like is able to get back up, I think that could be a confident zap for her. I really think that could be something that hurts her when she's like, God damn, like I'm working so hard to get this girl to the ground. Then I finally get her to the ground. Next thing you know, or we're up. We keep talking about chain wrestling, and Melissa's really, really good at getting up off of her back in chain wrestling. She's extremely good with that. And I think Melissa's going to dictate the pace of this fight. And I think the odds makers have I think Tracy Cortez is still the favorite. Last I checked, she was still like minus 140 or plus, she was minus 140 or something like that. What I think is going to happen is I think the odds makers and the rest of the UFC will be introduced to Melissa Gatto, because Melissa Gatto is a real player at this division.
Yeah, Melissa Gatto is for real. And you know what, guys? If this fight was a year ago, I probably would have gone with Tracy Cortez. But between Cortez's inactivity and Melissa Gatto finishing Sijara Eubanks, which is not the easiest thing to do in the world, I have to go with Melissa Gatto. So I think she's going to.
I'll tell you this as well. People don't know because they just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Melissa Gatto has a first round Kimura victory over UFC contender Cara Rosa outside of the UFC. Like, that's not what's talked about enough. So I'm telling you right now, do not be shocked if Melissa Gatto gets Tracy Cortez out of there quick. That's all I'm going to say.
Daniel, do you think that's going to happen, or do you see it happening another way?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, Malik laid out the entire plan. I was going to go with Cortez, but nothing. I have Malik changed my mind. There, I'm going.
Don't be afraid of an argument. Come on.
No. I mean, like, I was going to go Cortez, but to be honest, I haven't watched nearly enough of either of these fighters, and Malik's right on this one, so I'm rolling with Gatto.
All right, Daniel is surrendering there.
What about you, Daniel? What about you?
I think I said I'm going with Melissa Gatto, just because if you can beat Sijara Eubanks and stop her, I think now you've elevated from being a submission artist, which is what I think a lot of people expected her to be in the past. I think she's a complete fighter, so I'm going to go with a TKO stoppage, not a submission.
She could
stoppage.
be a champion at this weight class. Like, I'm trying to tell people now, like I'm the king of putting people on the fighters. So is Teddy, but I'm the king of putting people on the fighters long before they even sniff championship gold, like long before. And I'm telling you right now, I slept on Melissa Gatto her first fight. I slept on her first fight. I said, oh, he broke the girl's forearm. Let me say that again. Victoria Leonardo, she broke her forearm with a kick. Yeah, she's that good.
We'll see. I think you guys might be right when it's all said and done with her with the progress. Because if you can beat Tracy Cortez, I mean, there's a lot of girls in the flyweight division you can beat. So let's see how that one shapes out. Let's keep it moving to the welterweight division. Andre Fialho taking on Cameron Van Camp. Daniel, we're going to begin with you here. Andre Fialho, he's got a lot of power. He may not have the best body in the world. He doesn't. But Cameron Van Camp, a newcomer, I think this is an interesting fight.
I mean, interesting, yes, but I'm going with Fialho, and I don't know. The research I did, I don't think that this is really close. I think that, Fialho, or first off, Van Camp, from what I've seen, he's extremely hittable. He takes a ton of punches, takes a ton of shots, and Fialho, I think he trains at one of the top camps. I don't know the exact name, but I know Cormier trains there. Trains at one of those, and I just think that Fialho is going to dominate here, and I'm going Fialho.
Malik, who are you going with? You're smiling. You agree?
I was easily going to say Fialho. Fialho just fought, I want to say 3 weeks ago.
April 16th. Yeah.
I was going to take Fialho in this fight, and I probably still will, but I will say this. Fialho is like Cameron Van Camp is very what's the word I want to say? I don't want to butcher it. He's a guy that can absolutely take Fialho's back and choke him out. Let me just say that. He can absolutely do that. And Fialho does not have like the best. He's a striker, right? He's not like the best wrestler and things of that nature. I'll say this. if Fialho doesn't finish him in the first round, I would 100% take Van Camp. This is a guy that's been training for his UFC debut for a while. And this card was like a late add to this fight was a late add to the card. I think a lot of people are just forgetting. I don't think a lot of people know about Van Camp, and I can't blame them. So I think a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, Fialho's going to win." You know, it's funny. A lot of people thought the same thing with McKinney against Dober, and I think that gassing is a real issue. And Fialho is a guy that already has gas tank issues. He's already a guy that has gas tank issues. So this fight is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot more interesting than people think. And it would not shock me if Cameron Van Camp shocks the world and takes his neck. Wouldn't shock me at all.
You know what? I'll do you one better. It won't shock me because I think it's going to happen. He has 9 submissions on his record. Make that 10. I think tonight in his UFC debut, and the lights are the brightest, I think he's going to step up because, yes, when he's fought in Kentucky and he's fought in Shamrock FC, he's fighting no names, so to speak, and they're not great promotions.
Dan Stitkin.
Yeah, like the regional promotions, but Andre Fialho, I think, is a good opponent for him because he knows what he needs to look out for. He knows he needs to watch out for that power, and he's fighting a Fialho that is very active. Last fight, April 16th, like you guys talked about. So I don't know, Ted, but I think Van Camp is going to make a thunderous debut. He's going to get a submission win, and people are going to start talking about him.
And it's funny, me and Teddy have been going back and forth, and we were talking last night saying Fialho, like literally talking. Every night before every fight, big card, I always do like another round of homework just to cross my T's and dot my I's.
Yeah.
This is a guy that was scheduled to face Nicholas Mata, right? This should show you how the UFC views him. Nicholas Mata isn't like a world beater, but he's not like bad either. He's pretty good. This guy was supposed to fight him back in September, and that fight fell through, got canceled. So it just tells you sort of how the UFC views him. Listen, I just think if this was any other scenario, if Fialho hadn't fought 3 weeks ago and Fialho already doesn't have gas tank issues, I would easily take Fialho here. But Fialho does have gas tank issues, and Fialho did fight 3 weeks ago. So you mean to tell me, like, Fialho didn't step into his fight 3 weeks ago knowing in the back of his mind, oh, I have another fight in a few weeks against Cameron Van Camp. And no, he didn't.
That's before. No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I doubt it. I don't think the UFC literally gave him a contract saying, hey, you're going to fight back to back from a 3 week span. Like, regardless of like Teddy, did he probably know after the fight, or maybe the next day or something like that? Probably. Because like they probably needed, they filled that card pretty quickly. But what I'm saying is, when he was training for his last fight, he didn't go into his last fight thinking he would be fighting again in 3 weeks, is what I'm trying to get at.
If you let me talk, I'll tell you you're wrong.
I'm not letting you talk. I'm simply just explaining, Teddy. So what I'm saying is,
before the fight,
okay,
he actually planned to fight the next week because his teammate and wherever they're from, Manel Kopp, was supposed to fight on that card, and he planned to get a first-round knockout and fight back-to-back weeks. He got a first-round knockout, and then Manel Kopp's fight fell through, so they gave him Cameron Van Camp, a guy that fights in a different promotion every fight, that has no business being in the UFC, tossed him that up for another first-round highlight knockout that Andre Fialho will get. Malik, you just made a great point, actually. You said you can tell what the UFC thinks about someone by who they give them. Andre Fialho debuted against Michel Pereira, almost beat him, and then got Miguel Baez his second fight and starched him.
Ted, I'm not saying Andre Fialho isn't the better fighter. I'm 100% saying Andre Fialho is the better fighter. But I just think that we have to, like this is what we do on the show. We talk about the pros and the cons. And the cons is, regardless of what people would think, I think Fialho is going to be a beast in the UFC. He does have gas tank issues. He does. He gasses out. And I'm just simply here to tell you, if you fought 3 weeks ago, now that's news to me. Maybe I'm guessing you're right, because Teddy, you don't say BS. I'm just saying though, although I believe what you're saying, I think that this is a situation where Fialho could be overlooking Cameron Van Camp. That's all I'm gonna say.
It probably is. I mean, the guy fights my cousins in Kentucky. I would overlook him too, quite frankly. Like, he fought Dan Stitkin a couple weeks ago. If you know who Dan Stitkin is, I don't think he's going to fight in 20 years.
So
you understand where I'm coming from, though, right? From like Fialho should win this fight, but I'm just saying though, if this fight somehow ends up on the ground, it gets interesting.
I think everyone is just missing that this is just a toss-up for the UFC to give Fialho another highlight knockout.
Well, I'll jump in here. It should be a toss-up, but I mean, look, we have seen though where things have gone awry for certain guys where they're trying to build you up, and then a newcomer comes in and just steals the thunder. So,
but what I don't want to get to misconstrued if we go back on what I said, Fialho's still my pick.
Okay,
I've always said
know,
yeah. I'm just saying, don't be shocked if Cameron Van Camp snatches his neck. That's all I'm gonna say, because I do think Fialho's gas tank is a serious issue. I do.
Yeah. Well, I'm the only one here that has picked Van Camp. So, yeah. I mean, right now I'm sitting on an island, but I'm banking on a submission. I think it's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe not, but I think he's going to disrupt the party. So we're going to keep this party moving to the final fight on the early prelim card. Blagoy Ivanov. What's up?
Sorry to cut you off, Mike. Let's also remember there's always in every single UFC card, there's always at least like two big upsets, like where nobody saw this coming. Like nobody saw this coming. And I don't want to say I have Cameron Van Camp as one of mine because I don't, but I wouldn't be shocked. But I do have two other ones. But continue. Sorry.
Okay. He could be. But you know what? Blagoy Ivanov, Marcos Rogerio de Lima in the final fight of the early prelim. Ted, what is your pick on this one? We'll start with you.
This is a hot take. I think Blagoy Ivanov finally gets that historical, illustrious chin crack tonight.
Who told you, Teddy? Who told you about it? Who told you about it, Teddy?
I mean, Malik's going to take the credit on this one because early on I was saying I don't think he'd get stopped just because we never – I mean, if you watch that video of him fighting Derek Lewis 3-4 times, you could change my mind right away because that's – nobody's eaten punches like that ever. But – I think, I just think he hasn't fought in like 2 years either. I think he's just going to get clocked. I think he's just going to get now. If he doesn't, and this fight ends up on the ground, Rogerio de Lima is not a good fighter. Like he's not a good fighter, but he can crack. Mm-hmm. Like he killed Ben Rothwell. Absolutely killed him.
The ghost of Ben Rothwell.
Yeah, I don't know if Ben Rothwell still exists. I haven't seen him since. Seriously, my hot take is I think Ivanov gets knocked out cold for the first time in his career. Might even be spitting like Shamil Abdurakhimov. We'll see.
Well, see, Ted, it's just a bad matchup, in my opinion, for Blagoy Ivanov because his last fight, May 30th, 2020, it was the very first fight at the UFC Apex when they started getting things going in the pandemic. But what I don't get, though, in this go-around is the fact that Rogerio has legit power, Malik. And I think that you're going to see it. So there's a very good shot, and I think it's going to happen. I think Blagoy Ivanov gets stopped.
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about it?
Oh, yeah. This fight is interesting. It's good. I mean, Blagoy is a good wrestler, but I think that 2-year layoff and also, Blagoy doesn't look like I don't know. He just didn't look like he was in the best shape when I saw him weigh in. He never looks like he's in the best shape. So what am I saying? But Marcos is going to crack that chin for real. I think Derek Lewis was the one to soften it up, and I think Marcos Rogerio de Lima is going to be the one to put him out. It wouldn't shock. Listen, I will say that first round prop. I think I saw it was like at plus 800 at one point for Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Yeah, if you're going to bet anything in this fight. Bet that because if Marcos doesn't put him out in the first round, he's not winning the fight.
So yeah, he's got to bank on a first round knockout there. Daniel, you'll be the last one here to talk about it. What is your prediction?
I'm gonna be the lone wolf. I'm gonna go Ivanov, and yes, his chin could get cracked. But he's faced Dos Santos, he's faced Lewis, he's faced, I think, didn't he even face Tuivasa? I just think, I don't think that
this is very terrible Tuivasa. Let's add that. Like, that was a bad Tuivasa. That was Tuivasa that probably got cut from the UFC that he fought and then came back to the UFC.
But still had power in his hands. I just don't think that he gets cracked. And for me, Malik put it best, though. It's either round 1 or I don't think he wins at all. So I would even like, you could even parlay it to where, hey, round one, 𝑑𝑽 finish, or even decision. But I just don't think that he gets in round one. It
Well, I
goes
mean,
either.
if I'm be real with you, if 𝑑𝑽 doesn't finish him in the first round, 𝑑𝑽's going to gas out, and 𝑑𝑽 is going to get submitted in the next round or third round.
Yeah.
If that's what's going to happen, this fight's not going to decision. Someone's going out, whether it be a tap or a knockout.
I don't know. I just don't think it goes that far, though. Either way, I think it's going to end in the first round.
Oh yeah, but Teddy made a great point. Like Ivanov is nasty on the ground, and Ivanov will absolutely submit Marcos Rogerio if it goes to the ground. So, but I just don't think it will. I think like Teddy said, I think Marcos is going to find that chin, and he'll wake up wondering like what happened. he'll probably think he's still fighting Derek Lewis, honestly.
So I think that's all we needed to say on this one. But before we go any further from the early prelims to the prelims, I need you guys out there watching to do yourselves a favor and subscribe to the 𝒕𝑉𝒆𝒁 Patreon. The guys here were talking about it, parlays. They were talking about props for fights. Not only the UFC, but pretty much any sport. The NBA playoffs are hot. I know we have some NHL packages for you. Patreon.com/TWSN. That's the place to be. There's no other place. So check that out. It's a great place. Okay. Now we can get to the prelims. See, this one, guys, this one hurts because I'm a big Brandon Royval guy. I am. But Matt Schnell is awesome on the ground. I like Matt Schnell a lot, Daniel. But it's going to be a tough one. I am still going to go with Brandon Royval, though. I'm going Brandon Royval by decision.
Or Malik, you want to go?
There you go. Good.
So Royval, honestly, he's been one of my favorite fighters just because he's that kid that, he just smashes the buttons. It's like, you're playing UFC, he's just smashing every button. I have to go Schnell, though, and it's because I don't know what I'm to expect out of Royval. You're going to get a lot of crazy stuff, and I just think Schnell's going to take advantage. So, I want Royval to win. I seriously do. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's fun to watch. But I just think I'm gonna take Schnell. And I think Schnell's a heavy underdog, like plus 200 or something. But, yeah.
Malik?
I have to steal this before Teddy jumps in and takes it because me and Teddy were talking about this last night. So there's a couple of things. And you guys might not agree with me. I think Brandon Royval, I watched that fight twice in the last 2 days. I think he's 100% lucky that he got the decision victory over Bontaneri. I don't think he won that fight. I'm just being real with you. I don't think he won that fight. I think he had more moments, but I think that he controlled him on the ground, and Royval didn't have a lot of answers until he did have an answer in the third round. Matt Schnell is going to take. If Matt Schnell gets you to the ground, Matt Schnell you're not getting up. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think Royval has the chops to get up, and I think that Royval's coming in with a lot of again, I don't like to read too much into the press conference and stuff like that in the weigh-in show. But it was a lot of cocky air to him. There was a lot of cocky air to him yesterday that I felt where it was like he just sort of just expected, and Matt Schnell seemed a little focused. Another thing. I'm not one to make angles up, but I think that there's something to be made of this. Matt Schnell lost his mother last month. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. These type of fights where everyone is just expecting Brandon Royval to go out there and just, make it a crazy fight and win. These are the exact fights that go the opposite direction. So I'm going to be on record. I'm going to take Matt Schnell. I think Matt Schnell makes this a boring fight. I think he slows down the pace. He does what it takes to beat a guy like Brandon Royval, who, as Daniel had alluded to, likes to mash buttons, so to speak, and just comes out with a lot of energy. I think Matt Schnell makes this a very boring fight, and he grapple fest him. And I think Brandon Royval messed up too, guys. His last fight, he said, "Oh, guys, I'm so sorry." In his post-fight, this was boring. I don't like to be boring. I like to be exciting. I don't like to wrestle. I like to make it an exciting fight for you. I want to be the most exciting fighter in the division. A guy like Matt Schnell who loves to wrestle, you pretty much you're telling everyone you don't prefer to do that. You prefer to spam. You prefer to do all those things. I don't know. I think Matt Schnell makes this. I think this might be one of the most boring fights on the card tonight. I think Matt Schnell makes this boring and just wrestles, hold him down to the ground, tires him out, makes him use up all that nervous energy, that exciting energy that he has with him. And I think Matt Schnell takes this in the decision.
See, Ted, before I go to you, I see this going to the ground primarily and staying there, but I do want to note both of these guys, their last fight was against Rogerio Bontorin. I find it very interesting. Matt Schnell, no contest against Bontorin. And then, like you talked about, Malik, that split decision win that was controversial for Brandon Royval.
I don't think he won that. And that's funny. It's funny when I watched it originally, because I wanted Royval to win. I was like, oh, Royval won. I don't think Royval won that fight. I think Bontorin got screwed.
Okay. So, Ted, what's your take on this one?
Well, first and foremost, you can't make a Brandon Royval fight boring. That's can't do that. Won't happen. Secondly, I just like Matt Schnell everyone's sleeping on Royval scrambles. First of all, Matt Schnell won't just lay on Brandon Royval.
Yeah, he can get up.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That's absolutely not gonna happen. In fact, the second his butt touches the mat, he'll scramble. Like, yeah, that's a misread on everyone who's been watching.
Disagree. You can have your opinion, Teddy, but disagree wholeheartedly. You can have your opinion. But
okay. And then secondly, on the whole making it boring, we've seen this. Like, Matt Schnell fought Alexander Pantoja, who's easily the most similar fighter to Brandon Royval on the roster, and he got slept in the first round. He didn't make it boring at all. He got walloped. He got absolutely cold-cocked. And I'm not saying Brandon Royval is going to do that, but Matt Schnell doesn't have anything on the feet to make a fight boring with Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval, these are 25ers. Like, it's not, you can't just cut off the cage on a 25er. Brandon Royval is gonna make stuff happen. This is gonna be a very fun fight. Matt Schnell's way too inactive. He doesn't get enough fights in. He has more canceled fights than fights he's fought since 2019, like by a very wide margin. He never makes it to the cage. He's fought two ranked guys. He lost to both of them, Bontorin and Pantoja. He's just not that guy. He won't be that guy. Yeah, I think we see him go back on like that losing streak we saw when he who'd he fight? I think it was Rob Font and like maybe Tim Elliott back to back or something. But yeah, he goes on these runs and he fights these top guys. He's not that guy. He doesn't have anything on the feet. And I thought his MTV show was really garbage. So I just don't like Matt Schnell.
Wait, he was on MTV?
Oh yeah, you never saw the MTV?
I did not know he was on MTV. Wow.
You guys, somebody has to know what I'm talking about.
No, but it sounds like it's personal for you.
Oh no, I was just jabbing because Malik started to give me eyes, so I just threw that in there.
Yeah.
But
I've got to.
He was on a show on MTV, right? Am I making that up?
Don't know. He's gonna win this fight.
Yeah, I feel like you're having a real. Who'd you pick? Who'd you tell me was going to knock?
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're literally talking about Mickey Gall versus.
Yeah, I feel like you're having another.
I might be. I am known to have one of those, but I really feel in my heart.
Caged. The show is called Caged. It was terrible.
Probably would never watch that, but I'm just saying though. I just know in my heart. What I feel in my heart. This is a gut, but like Brandon Royval is the better fighter out of the two. But I just think with everything that has happened. The certain circumstances surrounding his mother's passing and tomorrow being Mother's Day and him having he has the acumen. Like he's not, I'm not gonna say he's like he's great, but his style is the perfect fight for Brandon Royval, if you will, like the kryptonite, if you will, if he implements it correctly. It's gonna be interesting to see if it happens. Brandon Royval does have nasty scrambles. But I'll tell you what, I've been shocked more ways than one this year when it comes to UFC. Didn't expect Aljamain Sterling to beat Peter Yan in the fashion that he did, and he did. So I'm saying it right here. A lot of nervous energy when it comes to Brandon Royval. Really exciting. Think he's just going to go out there and starch this guy? I don't see it, though. I think Matt Schnell wins this.
He's going to starch him. I don't think he's going to starch him.
I got you. Oh, well, a lot of people are, A lot of people think that. And I'm just like, I just wouldn't shock me if Matt Schnell makes this a boring fight and just like takes him to the ground, holds him there, tries to hold him there, continues to grapple. And then, after a while, you start to see that energy just zap after a while. But if he finds, like, to Teddy's point, Schnell is chinny. If he finds, if he does find Schnell's chin, could be interesting.
And the motivation part, and that'll be the last thing I'll say before we move on. It can do two things. It can motivate you to win, or it can be like what happened with Walt Harris, where, you know, a death in the family, it's not always the best thing under those circumstances. So obviously prayers out to the family of Matt Schnell. That's never a good thing, but he's hoping to get a win here. So Teddy, let's kick off with you for the next fight. A catch weight, 147 pounds. We got Maycee Chiasson going up against Norma Dumont. And you know what, Ted? I think Norma Dumont is going to give Chiasson the hands. I think she's going to double up on her combos. I think she's going to stick a jab. And I think she's going to carry away with a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. You don't want to fight fat Norma Dumont. Fat Norma Dumont is basically a new mythical fighter. Her only tough fight in the UFC is the scale. She's genuinely just too big for the girls in that weight class. I don't think this will be any different. Her jab is just heavy. Her hands are heavy. She's not like, you know, I mean, she's not Valentina Shevchenko. Like, I don't think she's going to bust her up with combinations and stuff, but I just think she's going to land more bigger punches. But yeah, she's got to start making weight, dude. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, she's not going to get a title shot. You can keep winning these fights 3 pounds overweight. You're not going to get a title shot. Dana's not going to do that. Like, he's not. It's just there's no moving forward if you can't make weight. Like, go fight Kayla in PFL or something. Like, there are options for that people that don't make 135 or 145 either, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I think these fights with her are almost meaningless because she doesn't really have a weight class within the UFC. But she's going to win. It's good for the parlay. She's only like minus 200. I like that. Slap that on there. But yeah, overweight Norma Dumont, new mythical fighter, easy unanimous victory, probably 30-27.
All right, Daniel, we're going to go to you next before we go to Malik. Daniel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the biggest thing is I just can't believe she can't make weight. It's her whole career she's been, you know, struggling. I think whether it's standing up or even goes to the feet, Chiasson, like, it's not going to be a good fight for her. So I'm going Dumont, unanimous decision.
Okay, Malik.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Ted makes great points. Daniel makes great points, but they're severely overlooking something. I would say Norma Dumont struggles with fighters who are bigger than her. I will say that. She got knocked out by Megan Anderson in the first round, her UFC debut. I think it was her UFC debut. And you look at this fight, I think Norma is better on the feet than her, I think. But Norma has a reach of 72 inches compared to Norma Dumont 67. And, you know, she's coming in 5'9", and Norma's 5'6". This fight could be closer than what people think. I'm just going to say that. I don't think Maycee Chiasson's a walk in the park for anyone. She's a tough fighter. She has a good stand-up, good kickboxing. Damn, I don't like fights like this where I have to make a prediction. Because I do think people are overlooking Maycee Chiasson in this fight. I do. I really do. And for that factor, I'm going to go with Maycee in this fight. I'm going to go with Maycee for the upset.
See, I just don't think Maycee's going to stop her. Maycee has a shot to win by decision, but
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just hard for me though to think that Norma Dumont, even though like she's undisciplined, I don't think she's going to get stopped here if she loses.
No, I didn't say she was going to stop. I was saying Megan Anderson stopped her. And that's something we don't, that people seem to forget. Megan Anderson knocked her out in the fourth round.
Megan Anderson's not bad. I think people just only remember the Amanda Nunes.
But neither is Maycee though. Maycee's not bad.
No, she's not. I don't think she's bad. I don't think she should like we're all taught. Everybody's giving Charles a bunch of the shit Charles is getting. Norma should be getting.
Yes.
Maycee shouldn't be having to fight Norma Dumont at 147 pounds. Like that's
Absolutely
not fair to her. I think that's a huge disadvantage for Maycee, especially because, like you said, the only advantage she had coming in was being the bigger in terms of height. But now she's certainly bigger in terms of weight. Like, so I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't even care about this fight. It's a made up weight class above any weight you can fight at in the UFC for a female. But I think Norma wins probably like every minute of the fight.
All right. 3 of us have Norma. Malik standing alone with Macy Chase on. Malik, let's see where you stand with this next fight, though. We got Francisco Trinaldo, Danny Roberts.
I'm happy that you finally let me start off one, brother, because I wanted to say this real quick. Francisco Trinaldo is going to find the chin of Danny Roberts tonight. Danny Roberts going out. And I think a lot of people look at Francisco Trinaldo. He's old. He's like 43, 44 years old now. And Francisco Trinaldo bangs. Like, that guy can hit. And Danny Roberts is chinny. It's just simple as that. And I don't know where this weird confidence came from Danny Roberts recently, where he, the fight start, the weigh-in press conference, he jumps in Trinaldo's face. Trinaldo's generally a respectful guy. He doesn't really speak a lick of English. Really respectful, though. Comes in, does his job, and Danny Roberts is in his face like, yeah, tomorrow night you're going out, you're going to sleep. And Trinaldo's like, like, brother, he doesn't understand what you're saying, man. He's just nodding his head up and down. But I will say this, Trinaldo is going to knock Danny Roberts out. And it's funny, every single UFC card, and Teddy, you know this to be true because you and me watch a lot of UFC cards together. It's always that one cocky dude who always just gets a flat line. Last week, it was Andre Fiala. It was Andre, what's his name?
Touchy-feely.
Touchy-feely. His chin was touchy. I'm telling you right now, Danny Roberts is going to get knocked out tonight by a 43-year-old Francisco Trinaldo. And everyone will be shocked except for me and probably Teddy, just being honest.
So, Ted, before I go to you, I just want to read this off. I'm looking at Danny Roberts. The last time he was knocked out, May 18th, 2019, against Michelle Pahea. Do you think this is going to be the next one like Malik talked about?
I can see it. Like, we plug the Patreon. I wouldn't put any units on that, but I can see it for sure. Trinaldo is this is going to be I don't mean it's on a lower level, but he's having like a Glover Teixeira-esque resurgence late. And I'm looking at he's won 4 of his last 5, 1 by knockout over Jai Herbert. Now Jai Herbert could get knocked out by a fly, so that's not anything super special. But I mean, he's on the second best run of his UFC career right now, and I certainly think he keeps it going. And I do think he could knock him out. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. He's got huge power. He's an explosive guy. This is another stylistic fight where this fight can't be boring. I don't think. Go ahead.
And to Teddy's point, sorry to cut you off, because Teddy, I don't think people know who Francisco Trinaldo is. If everyone remembers Bobby Green, the guy who just fought Islam Makhachev, Francisco Trinaldo beat him in 2019.
Yeah.
Like, we're not like too far removed from that. Francisco Trinaldo cracked. And the loss that he did have against that guy Salim, whatever, the dude grappled him the entire fight. I think that Danny Roberts is very similar to a Jai Herbert. And I don't think Danny Roberts is going to take him down and hold him to the ground. I don't think he's going to do that. I think Danny Roberts is going to stand up and trade with him and get cracked.
And you know what? Trinaldo also beat Paul Felder too. Like, Trinaldo's been around the game for a long time. So if he can add this at such an older age, I would say Trinaldo could be a guy that could upset a lot of people moving forward.
I think that Danny Roberts and his team really thinks that like they're getting an old man and they're like overlooking, and they are getting an old man. I think they're overlooking him, but Trinaldo that dude's scary. When he starts throwing them, he's nasty. Like, and I just think that Danny Roberts is going to get chin checked this fight.
Daniel, Trinaldo, Roberts, who's winning and why?
Yeah, no. When I was doing my research for this fight, I was like, okay, 43, no. But then I went back and, as Ted said, I looked at his history. I was like, what are we missing? He's doing this at 43, and people are saying, I saw people saying, oh, Roberts is more active. I don't think that there's a huge discrepancy of, oh, Roberts is way more active than Trinaldo to make me say that Trinaldo can't just crack him. So I think that there's nothing besides, the reach and the height advantage of Roberts. But is that enough to make me say that Trinaldo's going to lose? I don't think so. So I'm going to take Trinaldo. Even though he's 43, I just don't see a huge advantage for Roberts. And maybe the gas tank, maybe late third round, but I don't think that's even enough. So I'm taking Trinaldo.
I have Trinaldo as well. His striking ability, I think, is just going to be a little bit too much, especially if it's the Trinaldo that fought against Jai Herbert. That was a fight that really stood out to me, and he lost his next one after that. But I think Trinaldo is really going to stand out here. So let's go with the welterweight division now. Randy Brown, Kalen Chaos Williams. Daniel, I'm conflicted this one, and I need you to remedy my thoughts here, because I'm also, like Royval, I'm a big Chaos Williams guy. He's got a lot of power, and Randy Brown has been knocked out twice. But I just don't know if this is the fight that Williams is going to get a stoppage win. I don't think it is. How do you feel about it, Daniel?
I do. I
Okay.
think this is I've seen that, Chaos he's been able to do it from the first minute all the way until the end of the fight. He's never going to. He's not the guy that loses the power. He's going to be the Chaos that he is. So I think he cracks him. I think he knocks him out. So I think I'm taking Williams.
Malik, who is going to win?
You know, it's funny. I was talking with Teddy this entire weekend. I was like, yo, Ted, I don't know about Chaos, man, in this fight. I don't know. Because I do think that Randy Brown might be better technically. I do believe that in my heart. I think he's a better technical fighter. But I'm actually really confident in Chaos Williams. Like, he's one of my locks of the night now. And I'm going to tell you why. This camp, he trained with Trevor Whitman, Justin Gaethje, and Kamaru Usman. I think we might see the best version of Chaos Williams this camp. Like, one of Justin Gaethje's main training partners this camp was Chaos Williams. And we know what type of coach Trevor Whitman is. I don't know if Trevor Whitman is going to be in his corner as coach, but I think we might see a more, I would say a more level-headed Chaos Williams, a guy that takes his time, more patient Chaos Williams. And I think a more patient Chaos Williams could be dangerous, because how I envision this fight happening is I think Randy Brown's going to be so worried about what's coming back at him. He's going to be so worried about that. And you're going to see Randy Brown almost letting Chaos Williams dictate the pace with the pressure. I think how you stop a guy like Chaos Williams, a little teep kicks, back him up, make him stay at range.
I wouldn't throw kicks against Chaos.
But that's what I'm saying.
I would not throw kicks at.
So what is Randy Brown's route to victory? Like, I don't know. I think Chaos. I saw a lot. Listen, Chaos Williams showed me a lot when he beat 𝒬𝒔 the Jedi. And I was talking to Teddy about this. He showed me a lot about him when he beat him. Like, I thought 𝒬𝒔 was going to go out there and, because 𝒬𝒔 is like Chaos Williams, but way more measured. Like, he hits hard and he can crack. But like Teddy said, you get a different version of Matthew Simmelsberger every fight. I think Chaos Williams, we see a measured Chaos Williams this fight, and I think that fear, that pressure. It's almost like how when people fight Francis Ngannou or some of the big punchers, like, they're so worried about throwing anything. It causes them to be inactive, right, Teddy? Like, it causes them to be inactive. It causes them to sort of like mirror their opponent. I see this being a very similar thing, and I think Chaos Williams is going to find that chin at some point, because it's going to be I think Randy's going to be so worried about what's coming back at him. He's going to, start hyperventilating. He doesn't know what's coming back at him, kind of scared, back it up against the cage, and Chaos is going to catch him.
I think the striking advantage, at least in terms of power, I think goes to Chaos. I have Chaos winning, by the way. I just don't think he's going to get a stoppage win, because Randy Brown, when I watched him fight Jared Gooden, I think he has the skills to stay alive. Even if he gets hurt, I think he has the skills to stay alive, Ted. So that's why I think Williams is going to have the advantage. It's going to show in the scorecards, but maybe not enough to get a stoppage.
Who's going to fold him?
Here's the difference. Jared Gooden doesn't have that punch. Chaos Williams has that punch.
Yeah.
It'll be this will be my bold take. Clip this one after if I'm wrong, I'll look like an idiot. Straight right hand, right down the middle. Same one he absolutely slept Abdulrazak Alhassan with. Same punch. And it might not sleep him like that, but the thing is, when Randy Brown gets hurt, he takes his way out. If you watch that Vicente Luque fight, he got hurt and he let Luque do what he had to do to finish that fight. I think he'll hurt him with the right hand up the middle, And I want to touch on something Malik said because he's right. Like training with Gaethje and that camp will make him more. But he's not. I wouldn't necessarily say he's impatient. So to say, I think he stopped Baeza in the third round.
Yes.
Like he keeps his power. He doesn't gas out. And like he's not throwing these winged. It's straight punches. And that camp has like the best straight right hand going right. Like Kamaru Usman's straight right hand. If that's getting rounds with Chaos Williams, I don't think he was impatient to begin with, but even more measured, calculated. I think he'll hurt Randy Brown and absolutely just track down his prey and finish him. I think probably in the first or second round.
Yeah, we don't say this often, but like this is one of those plays that you probably should bet. It's like I think it's like my probably even money right now or something like that. Or I don't think Randy Brown wins this fight. I think Randy Brown's hope to win this fight is to pick him apart from the outside. Hope that Chaos Williams is gas out because Chaos Williams in the past has had questionable cardio. People have questioned his cardio, but I think with the Miguel Baeza knockout and him being able to like still keep that power, it sort of has those have evaporated, so to speak. Yeah, I just don't think that Randy Brown will be active enough to win this fight. So
I'll say his path to victory would be a submission. He's really nasty on the ground.
Yes.
He has really long arms. He has some. Is he the guy that had the one-armed rear naked choke? Wasn't that Randy Brown?
I think so. I think so.
Oliveira, right?
Yeah.
So he's pretty slick on the ground. He's built for jiu-jitsu. I just think he'll be too tentative on the feet.
Yes.
Get it to the ground.
Yes.
Malik, are you gonna take knockout or do you think just straight up?
Well, I don't want to give that out because I want people to subscribe to the TWSN Patreon, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys brought up the place because I was just about to say, make sure you subscribe to the TWSN Patreon, patreon.com/TWSN for all the picks, UFC 274, a bunch of other stuff on there. Do yourself a favor. Come on, people. It is free money. Subscribe to the Patreon. It's what you should do. But now we're getting to the good stuff. We're getting to the main card, a fight that I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this fight. I've seen a lot of people say they love it. They're so happy about it. And then I've seen other people say, what is this doing on a pay-per-view? So, Malik, first and foremost, not only do I want your prediction, but how do you feel about this fight? Because these are two guys with a long history in the UFC.
I actually don't mind this fight. I think that both men have given a lot to the sport and a lot to this promotion that they deserve to be on this fight. I don't think you need to put either one of these guys on a fight of the night or a fight night or inside the Apex. This isn't a fight that should be. This is a fight that should be for the fans. And one thing I know about both of these fighters is they both are going to bring it. I will say this though. Lauzon hasn't fought in 2 years, right? I would say Cerrone has definitely been Maroney's been the more active fighter out of the two, but Lauzon has a bad gas tank. He has a bad gas tank, and if I see Lauzon winning this fight, it would be early. It would have to be early because Cowboy's a guy that's going to be there in the third. Might not be the most active in the third, but I will say I 100% think that Cowboy Cerrone's going to go out with a bang. I think he's going to win this fight. And I think he's probably going to retire after this fight as well. I think Lauzon retires too. I just think that Cowboy has more ways to win compared to a guy like Lauzon.
Lauzon's submission game, I think, is something that a lot of people have forgotten about because it was his bread and butter for a while. But I got to go with Cowboy here. And the way I look at Cowboy, I'm actually going to compare him to a band, Duran Duran. You guys might know it. They're a legacy band, and they tour a lot, but they tour based off their hits from the past. I think at this stage, this is a great fight for Cerrone. It is for Lauzon too. But Cerrone at this point, everyone loves him for what he has done in the past. All of his wins over guys like Melvin Gillard, a bunch of other names as well. He's a legacy act at this point. So if he can get a decision win, which is what I think he's going to get, I don't think he's going to stop Joe Lauzon, Ted. I think that would be a great way for him to say, okay, right off into the sunset. He's not taking a ton of damage anymore. it's time to wrap it up, so to say. Or if he keeps fighting, give him another legacy fight.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'll always tune into a cowboy fight, so I'm not gonna say, and probably like, listen, if they're gonna give Joe, I don't want to see Joe Lozon fight in 2022, quite frankly. But if they're gonna give him a fight, it probably, like Malik said, it probably should be on a pay-per-view, not like I don't want to see a card headlined by Cowboy, if that makes sense. Because if you're gonna put him on a fight night, he's gonna be headlining. And I don't think that makes sense either. So I'm not mad at the card placement. I wish they didn't have it on the same card as Ovince St. Preux versus Shogun Rua, because now you're kind of doubling up on the mid-2000s classics. But
And it's back-to-back, too.
Yeah, that's yeah. So maybe I don't love it, but listen, I think what I want to see in this fight is a cowboy head kick. I want him to go out the way he came into the UFC, with like a highlight left round kick to the head. But I don't think that'll happen either. I think Joe Lozon will just look terrible. I think that's what we're going to see happen. But yeah, Malik, go ahead.
You know what this reminds me of, Ted? You ever watch wrestling growing up?
Yeah.
This feels like the Undertaker's like retirement match for me for Donald Cerrone. I don't. I'm getting this type of vibe from it. We're going to see old school Cowboy, not because Cowboy is actually good again, but because Cowboy is better than Joe Lozon. And the fact that you've seen a Cowboy dedicated, like he usually trains at his ranch and stuff like that, and he completely moved to like the UFC PI. It seems like he's taking this way more serious, and he wants to go out with a bang. His son is also going to be in the crowd, which kind of hints that this is a retirement fight for him too. He kind of got emotional talking about it. I think we see Donald Cerrone take Old Yeller, in the back of the cabin and put him down. You guys don't know the move. If you guys don't know Old Yeller,
Sad movie.
See, I don't know, Daniel. I think first off, I can't compare Donald Cowboy Cerrone to The Undertaker, because if you're going to compare The Undertaker to a UFC fighter, it's got to be like Habib or someone like The Undertaker's the GOAT of WWE. No offense to Cowboy, phenomenal Hall of Famer, but come on.
Well, because The Undertaker's thing was, and I know this is a show, but we're talking about The Undertaker's thing was he was an ass kicker and he took names. He didn't care. Undertaker wasn't always the most dominant. And he was only dominant at WrestleMania. But in terms of like everything about him was just this mythical. And Cowboy's whole thing was Cowboy correct me if I'm wrong, Ted. Doesn't Cowboy have like the most fights in the UFC?
He has to. I know he's tied for the most wins, I think, with like Jim Miller or something.
Right. Like, believe it or not, when people think about like the reason why I said The Undertaker, people think about The Undertaker didn't really hold the belt many times in the WWE. He was just so much bigger than a championship. And Donald Cerrone was never bigger than a championship by no means. But you knew when you were tuning in for a Cowboy fight, you were getting a fight. You knew you were getting a fight. And you knew that he was going to bring it. To me, this just seems like two old dogs going at it. And Cowboy's was never champ, never going to be champ. But I think Cowboy is.
I actually think people forget how close he was to a title.
Yes.
He beat Eddie Alvarez. I think he was probably like in that top 4, top 5.
But but a guy like Cowboy
had a run.
Yeah, absolutely. And a guy like Cowboy, like I remember when he used to come out with the leather jacket and the hat and all that kind of stuff. Like the dude, like in his press conferences. But listen, the dude is going to bring it, and I really, really hope he doesn't lose that persona this week, because this week I've seen him like wearing the regular hat. Nah, Cowboy, we want you to go back to the regular Cowboy hat.
Kind of lost. I hate to kind of shit on a legend like this, but the excuses he's been making for the Conor McGregor fight in this kind of like media run is really disappointing. Have you guys heard all this?
Yeah. I have.
He's taking the oldest route in the book. I didn't feel it that night. Like, oh come on, dude, he clashed you. That's what happened. You weren't.
But to go off of that, Ted, I can see a world where he actually didn't want to be in that arena, and for me, that's what I was going to kind of bring up. I thought it was fascinating to hear him actually say, "I didn't want to be there." It looked like he didn't want to be like as soon as he got hit.
But he didn't want to be there because he was in there with a much better fighter.
Yeah. If we're being real with you, let's be real, Ted. We're real. We're real. Cowboy was a sacrificial lamb that night.
We all know
He was
that.
a sacrificial lamb that night. Like
for the BMF ranch guy to go out on that excuse,
no, you're right. But he was 100% the sacrificial. Like everybody knew Conor McGregor was gonna whoop that ass. Everybody knew that. Like maybe in 2016 this is a different type of fight, but I don't think it is because Cowboy is a notoriously slow starter. Yeah, I think Cowboy would whoop that got that ass whooped no matter what though. So I mean, at the end of the day, he was just a sacrificial lamb. He was ODLer that night.
Daniel, did you make your prediction?
Oh my god, no, I didn't. I'm gonna go Cowboy. I'm gonna go Cowboy. But so this is a question for you guys. Like, if Cowboy, like, why do you take a fight that you know you're gonna lose? And this is just me.
In the words of Canelo, payday.
Yeah, it's the biggest fight of his career.
Yeah.
Headline in a pay-per-view.
brother. Pay-per-view.
Teddy, payday. In the words of Canelo. For those of you who don't know, Canelo says that all the time.
But yeah, Cowboy for me.
All right. I think we said all that needs to be said. So we're going from one legacy fight to, in a way, kind of another legacy fight. Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Ovince St. Preux. Malik, kick us off on this one.
OSP knocked his ass out in 2015. He's going to do it again.
Correct. And I agree with you. I think at this point, Mauricio Shogun Rua, I just don't know why he's fighting anymore. I don't know. I mean, I probably do know, but
we would all want to see OSP lose tonight. Like we all like everybody who's an MMA fan loves Shogun Rua, but he knocked him out in the first round. I think like 47 seconds or something like that in the first round in 2015. He's going to do it again.
Ted, do you think it's going to happen again?
Shogun got knocked out on the feet by Paul Craig.
And he submitted to punches, by the way.
Yeah. I think the punches from Paul Craig. So, yeah. And OSP's look terrible.
Terrible.
Awful. So I'm just like, this fight sucks if I'm going to keep it 100. So, yeah, maybe he won't even knock him out because that's how bad he's looked, too. And is this at heavyweight or 205?
205.
Light heavyweight.
OSP hasn't decided what weight class he wants to fight at. And
tried to fight Tanner Boser and got.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is stupid. This shouldn't be on a pay-per-view main event. And I love Shogun. I mean, you guys all saw my tweet the other, like in 2005, Shogun had the greatest year in mixed martial arts history. If you're not familiar, go look it up. He literally killed Rampage Jackson. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Do your research. But I'd rather watch that fight tonight than watch OSP versus Shogun. So I don't know. Last time I think I declared a fight, the Get Your Beer fight. This is probably the Get Your Beer fight for the main event. Get your snacks, get your queso dip, whatever you need. This one will be just an old man.
So who's gonna win?
Dude, OSP probably. I don't care. OSP's gonna win.
Shogun he should win. Yeah, OSP Daniel should win because again, like Ted referenced, this is not the Shogun Rua from the Pride days or when he was the champ in the UFC.
Extremely slow. His punches are extremely slow.
Yeah.
I could probably knock out Shogun right now.
Daniel,
like if this goes to the third round, it'll be the worst round into 2020.
Oh, absolutely.
Malik, I think we need to make that happen. I think you can do it too. I think you could do it too. But I mean, this is, I don't know. I don't really. OSP is gonna win. He just has more left in the tank. That's I'm gonna take OSP.
All right. So
it's not much either. It's not much either. It's like a half a gallon.
maybe a quarter.
This is the equivalent to this is bad. Shogun's the equivalent to right now having like literally gas tank on empty, like literally can't even start. And OSP is like where you go to like the gas station, you put $5 in your tank just to make it home. That's what it is.
Oh, I just did that. You just hit my heart.
I'm sorry, it's true. Like you ever been to the gas station, like, hey, can I put $5 in the tank just to make it home?
Yeah. Can I get an OSP in the tank real quick?
Can I get a? You got a little.
We'll make it home if we a little more than $5 now.
Let's be regular.
All right, so I think we're ready to move on because this fight I don't think too many people are jazzed up about it. But a fight that people are jazzed up about: Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, And you know what, guy? I'll bat lead off here. Tony Ferguson, as much as I hate to say it, he's getting starched in the first round. Ted, I think he's getting starched in the first round. I think Michael Chandler clips him, jumps on him, and that's all she wrote. An early finish, Ted.
I think the same thing. I think that will happen. I think that should happen. But there's just every Tony fight week. I think I sent this clip in. I hope everyone watching this right now watch the press conference. He was just Darce choke in the air. He was just locking in Darce.
And he ankle tagged him. Did you see that?
Michael Chandler should win this fight. When we talk about this fight, he will have won this fight. But if he doesn't, if Tony wins, a part of me will be like, knew it. Like a part of it would be so Tony for him to just come back and look, and he wouldn't win it. He wouldn't look good either. So like, regardless, he'll look terrible. I could just see something happening, and because Chandler has fun. One of Chandler's biggest setbacks is that he loves fighting. That's literally one of the. He loves fighting so much that he might just start throwing spinning elbows with the guy you don't throw spinning elbows with, because his will cut you open. But if I'm just being straight up, what I think will happen, Michael Chandler will hit him really, 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 really hard, and probably be the first person to put Tony's lights out. And it'll be weird to see that.
Daniel?
I don't necessarily know if this is going to end in round 1, but this should be a dominating, finish. He got dominated by Oliveira. He got dominated by Dariush, and obviously Dariush is, more, you could say, more of a grappler than Chandler's. But Chandler's way more to fight for. Like, Tony can win this and potentially be the top contender, but like Chandler's only lost. I mean, he lost to Gaethje. And he lost Oliveira. I just think that Chandler, all around, more powerful fighter, stronger fighter, can take him to the ground, control him on the ground. I just think Chandler's going to dominate this fight.
Real quick, you just said something that made me think, like, if Tony won this fight, who would he fight? Everyone ranked above him has just dominated him, and Islam's going to get a title shot.
Oh, Islam. You're right. Islam would get
it. Islam's going to fight the winner of tonight's main event, I think.
And Islam will be champ, by the way.
I have an answer for that. I'll wait till I go though. I have a answer for that.
We'll go now, Malik. Yeah,
Islam will be champ.
So I'm gonna make you guys a prediction right now. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I want to call it a prediction. I'm gonna call it a spoiler. Tony Ferguson's gonna beat Michael Chandler tonight.
I think I influenced this pick for the record.
You did, but let me also explain why. Every fight Tony Ferguson has lost recently, it's been like Daniel had made points. He said, if Michael Chandler wants to beat Tony Ferguson, he's going to go out, he's going to use his grappling. Like, we all know Michael Chandler has the chops to beat Tony Ferguson. The fact is, I think Michael Chandler is so far removed from the championship in his mind because he lost to Charles Oliveira. He lost his last fight to Justin Gaethje. It seems like he's much more interested in fan-friendly fights now. That is the worst recipe for a Tony Ferguson fight.
That's what I was.
I think Michael Chandler is going to lose this fight because he can't beat Tony, because he absolutely can. He's going to lose this fight because he's going to fight dumb. I'm be real with you. Remember, Tony still has the ability to drop someone. Tony dropped Justin Gaethje with an uppercut. Like, Justin Gaethje is just an absolute dog. I'm not sure if Michael Chandler. He's a dog, but I'm not sure if Michael Chandler is a dog on Gaethje's level, if you will. Like, they just
he ate that uppercut from Gaethje. He ate that uppercut from Gaethje.
He did. I just think people are overlooking Tony, and I think Michael Chandler is much more interested in a fan-friendly fight, and he's going to throw down with Tony. Like, he's not going to incorporate his wrestling. I'm calling it right now. I think Tony wins this by submission. I think he hurts Chandler. Chandler drops to the ground. He submits him. I think that's what happens. And it's not a thing of Chandler taps. I think Chandler goes out.
Anyone know the money, the line on that?
I'm not sure, but I keep seeing this in my head. And to your point about a Darce choke, you can 100% see Tony Ferguson putting Michael Chandler in a Darce choke, and Chandler, see at the top, he's too prideful to tap. He'll 100% go out. I'm not trying to pull something out of thin air, but Tony just seems way more focused this week. And to Daniel's point, the people that beat him, Beneil Dariush literally just sat on him for the entire fight. Charles Oliveira tried to submit him the entire fight. Nobody's actually like outside of Justin Gaethje, like absolutely just outclassed him on the feet, if you will.
But
So-
Beneil almost submitted him though.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Beneil took him to the ground though.
Let's be honest. Charles Oliveira submitted him. He just chose not to.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys understand what I'm saying though? I don't think that Chandler's going to take him to the ground. I think Chandler's going to trade with him. And I think that gives Tony his best route to victory because we know what Chandler's going to throw. Like Chandler's going to throw them those power overhands and stuff like that. And I understand it's easy to go out there with the what people are saying like, oh, you know what? Well, undoubtedly, Tony's going to Tony's going to lose this fight. But I think people are just overreading it too much. This is the same guy, Tony Ferguson. If we're going to talk about years removed, like his last victory was 2019, where he knocked out Donald Cerrone in the second round. Then he knocked out Anthony Pettis after tearing his ACL. After coming back after like 6 months, he submitted Kevin Lee. Listen, I'm just going to say it. We all see Michael Chandler on this level of what he could be because he 100% has the skill sets to be a perennial contender. But he's got knocked out by Charles Oliveira. Like he seems chinny at this point. I don't know. I just think that we're just.
I just don't think Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson can catch him, but I don't think Tony.
What have you seen from Tony from a stand-up standpoint?
Yeah,
that makes you think he can't stand in there with Michael Chandler.
The Justin Gaethje fight. Watch Tony fight Justin Gaethje, then watch Mike fight Justin Gaethje.
I get that. But I also think that Michael Chandler is going to take more chances in this fight because he's fighting Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, but don't you think, though, those calculated risks are worth taking against Tony Ferguson, who has not won?
Let me preface this to the audience. Michael Chandler should 100% win this fight. I'm going to say this again. Michael Chandler should 100% win this fight. I don't know if his IQ will give him that.
Okay.
So I'm going to say.
I don't know. I look, I would love nothing more because I think everyone loves Tony Ferguson, but
I don't. I'm not a Tony Ferguson fan. I just think that Michael Chandler. I think we're putting it. I think we think Michael Chandler is way too smart. Like I think that's what we think personally.
I think he's going to catch him. So we'll see.
He should. He should. Michael Daly. He should. And if he does, he's going to win this fight. But at the same time, there's an easier path. There's a path to least resistance for Michael Chandler to win this fight, and I'm not quite sure if he'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So to answer your question, somebody said, "What happens if Tony does win?" I know what happens. Conor McGregor comes back, and Conor McGregor starts Tony Ferguson. That's the next fight for him. People say, if Tony wins this fight, what's next for Tony? Tony versus Conor.
All right, we do got to wrap up, Ted. Last point here.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say real quick, not to fully disagree with you, Malik, but I think wrestling would be Chandler's easiest victory, hypothetically. But Tony Ferguson is a junior college national champion, and he trained in this camp with his college again. So I think he's expecting the wrestling. But go ahead.
He might actually incorporate wrestling himself.
We'll see. But I don't know about offensive wrestling. Definitely defensive wrestling, though. I think he's preparing for Chandler to try to take him down. So we'll see with that. But we got to get to the two title fights now. The co-main event, Rose Namajunas in a rematch against Carla Esparza. This is one that I'm really looking forward to because a lot of people are bringing up the fact that Esparza beat Rose in that tough finale 2014, submitted her. But like we all know, guys, Rose is just a different monster now. And when Rose took that fight, she was coming off of a 17-month layoff where she lost to Tecia Torres in July 2013. But now she has just elevated so much, Malik, that I think Rose Namajunas is going to avenge that with a unanimous decision victory. Her striking, I think, is just going to be too much. And also, she is preparing for a potential situation where she could be submitted. And I don't foresee that happening. So I think Rose unanimous decision, Malik.
In the words of Max Holloway, the best is blessed. Rose Namajunas. You're going to beat her.
Okay. So, Rose, you have Rose winning that. Daniel, what say you?
Yeah, no, I think Rose is going to win this. Carla, she hasn't seen a fourth or fifth round, I think, since like 2012, 2013. she can shoot, for the first 2-3 rounds, she'll shoot, 10, 15 times. But at some point, if she doesn't submit her in those first couple rounds, she's going to get tired. And Rose standing up, I think, is a different beast. And I just, this whole camp or this whole lead up has been who has learned more, who has grown more since they last fought. I think hands down, it's Rose. So I think Rose retains the belt.
Ted, those two guys and myself, we have Rose. Do you have Rose or do you have Carla going 2-0 against Rose?
Those probably like very similar, honestly, to the last fight with Weili. I think she takes it in the championship rounds. I do like Carla's wrestling has actually looked like a serious problem.
Yeah.
In her last couple fights, but Rose in fight adjustments are really impressive. Again, that Trevor Whitman camp is just different. So I think she could win this fight. I think she could lose the first 2 rounds and win this fight. I do think it goes the distance. She probably wins 3-2, 4-1, unanimous decision.
Carla Esparza did receive a stoppage win over Zhao Nanyan in her last fight, although Yan is not Rose Namajunas. I'm not mistaken that, Malik. I'm not. But, Esparza.
She put in the crucifix position and she was just raining elbows down her head. She had her in crucifix position for the whole round and was just elbowing her in her head.
Yeah, I don't see that happening again. But look, I bring that up though because in terms of the confidence, in order to beat Rose, you need to have that. You need to be coming off of a TKO win if you think you could do that. So no, I don't think so either. So I think we're all in agreement here. I don't think we see Carla Esparza going 2-0 against Rose. But what we do know is happening, and this is the final fight of the card, a lot of complications within the past 24 hours where Charles Oliveira lost the belt on the scales, weighed in at 155.5 pounds, did not make championship weight. He was forced to vacate the title. Justin Gaethje, though, thankfully, it was looking a little confusing at first, but he's able to win the belt if he wins. So, Daniel, do you think Justin Gaethje will be the one, the only who can win tonight, or will Charles be reinserted as the number one to fight for the vacant title? Who do you think is going to win this one, Dan?
So all week I've had Gaethje. I've said, Oliveira's got caught each of his past 2 fights in round 1. I'm going Oliveira though. I'm switching up. I think the weight doesn't matter. Like for the actual fight, people say it's gonna make him lose motivation. I think it does the opposite. I think it does the opposite, right? I think Oliveira is now more motivated, right? Because whether it was his fault or whether it was, the scales fault, regardless, I think he's more motivated and he's a more diverse fighter. It is scary. This fight is going to be decided after that first exchange, once Oliveira gets caught, because he's going to get caught. And I think either Gaethje jumps on the opportunity and finishes him right away. If he doesn't do that, I think Oliveira wins, more diverse fighter. I think he can take him to the ground, get a slick submission. This is the best Gaethje we've ever seen, which scares me. But Oliveira, I'm going to go with a more well-rounded fighter, and I just don't think that, this weight cut, after I saw them, on the face-off yesterday, I just had this feeling like, Oliveira is not backing down, and I'm going Oliveira.
Okay. Oliveira, Ted, who do you got?
Well, if I do just want to touch on the drama real quick. Yep. I don't think if what we're hearing about these digital scales being half pound, I think the UFC is very wrong in stripping Charles Oliveira for that. Especially like one thing, I didn't even talk about this in the chat at all. The first attempt, he's like 156. He takes his trunks off. He's 155 and a half. The second attempt, he goes on with the trunks. He's 155 and a half. He takes the trunks off and doesn't lose that same half pound. Like their scales were off. Something was Carnelosi tweeted that she was told that her digital scale was off. The UFC is taking Charles Oliveira's belt in a really weird fashion. I think this is wrong. I think if he wins this belt tonight, it will be if he wins this fight tonight, it will be very similar to how I personally and most of the community looked at Petr Yan as the champion for many months after that first aljamain. If Charles Oliveira wins this fight tonight, he's the champion. He beat the #1 contender. And I don't think he's off weight, quite frankly. Like, I don't think a champion that's made championship weight multiple times already comes to that scale if he didn't know in the back he was on weight. I don't think he comes it's a mess. I think the UFC really messed up. As for the fight, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I was kind of stalling because I don't know, man. I kind of think it's funny because like the narrative for the Gaethje Chandler fight was like whoever takes that first step back loses. I think that's so much more true for this fight. Like I think these are the two most like I will walk you down. The only thing I think Gaethje hits harder. Oliveira has more weapons in his arsenal. The thing is, I think Gaethje can walk through like the body shots that folded Dustin. Gaethje's just different, and I think it will just be like a war of attrition, and whoever can take more will win, and Gaethje will just take more. And this is a switch up for me. I was definitely leaning Oliveira for most of this build up. I think I'm feeling the Whitman parlay. I think Gaethje, Rose are the picks to make in the last two. But dude, this card's gonna be crazy. This fight's gonna be crazy. I'm just excited. But this belt should be on the line for both fighters. I think the UFC really messed up.
Yeah, that is a part of it, Malik. There's a lot of complicated pieces and puzzles to this, but at the end of the day, I think it is worthy of saying that Dustin Poirier, in a way, he outstruck Charles Oliveira on the feet. I think it was the first round or the second round. I forget exactly which one, but I went back and watched it. Justin Gaethje can do the same. What do you think about this one, though? Do you think Charles Oliveira will be able to overcome it, or do you think Justin Gaethje will win?
For 2 weeks, I said Charles Oliveira was going to win this fight. I'm going to tell you what I think is like what I see is. I think that Justin Gaethje struck a nerve with Charles Oliveira. I think him telling him that you're the old Charles, the same guy that used to miss weight at featherweight, right? Chase, we hear what you're saying, and we appreciate your opinion. We do, but disagree. I think all those things that Justin was saying about Charles have started to creep. Will start to creep back in his mind. I mean, he said you're the guy that used to miss weight all the time, and regardless if it's the UFC's fault or his fault with the scales being off, as Teddy alluded to, that does play a factor in psychologically in a fighter. He already doesn't like Justin Gaethje. I would say that out of every fighter, I've never seen Charles be so emotional when it comes to fighting a guy. He even said earlier this week, he could say whatever he wants to say. We're going to fight, blah, 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 blah. And, you just see him giving a lot of credit to what Justin Gaethje is saying. And Justin Gaethje spoke to him on some street level stuff. He said, pretty much the rest of those guys that you fought had an opportunity to bring that basically that little dog out of you. And they didn't capitalize. He said, I'm going to drag you back. I'm going to make you remember what it feels like that. Do you remember who said that to a champion last time and what happened? Michael Daly?
I think I do, but no, who?
Juliana Pena. She said to Amanda Nunes, I'm going to drag you to deep waters and make you remember what it feels like to want to quit.
She did say that, yeah.
Because the rest of the girls you've been fighting have been just fighting you straight up, and you've been straight stand-up guy. She said, I'm going to take you to the ground, I'm going to drag you, and I'm going to make you feel like what it is, what it feels like to quit again. Everybody was like, oh, no, Amanda's the GOAT, Amanda's the GOAT. She did exactly what she did. She made Amanda look like she didn't belong in there, for real, on the ground. So the same goes here. I think Justin Gaethje is going to walk Charles Oliveira down. Yeah. And what I saw from Charles was an emotional Charles. He said, I'm going to knock out Justin Gaethje. Usually he says, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to prove that I'm the champ. He said he's going to knock out Justin Gaethje. He said if Justin Gaethje wants to trade with him, we could do that. Charles, you're probably not going to see this. You're probably busy training. Do not trade with Justin Gaethje. I promise you, it's not going to end well, regardless of what people think. Because Justin Gaethje, what he has over Michael Chandler, what he has over Dustin Poirier, outside of Conor, I think Justin Gaethje might be the best in the lightweight division at sensing when he has an opponent hurt and finishing them. He doesn't go crazy. Justin Gaethje, I think, is going to punch holes in his head. If I'm being real with you, I think he's going to hurt. I think he's going to hurt Charles tonight. And I think when Charles does get dropped, because Charles gets caught every single fight, and everybody's like, "Well, when Charles gets caught, that's when Charles becomes Charles." I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to become Charles, because I think Charles is going to get finished tonight.
Yeah. So here's what I was saying. Yesterday, after everything that went down, I automatically switched to Gaethje. But within the past 24 hours, though, I said, okay, let me go back to my original prediction, because Justin Gaethje is going to connect on Charles Oliveira at some point. But Charles Oliveira, I think what he is going to do, it's all about mental. Can he overcome this mental hurdle of not getting that weight? I think he can. I think he's going to find his way to Gaethje's back, and I think he's going to submit him. So I know.
But see, that's the thing. But that's the thing, Dale. Let's talk to that for a second. I know we got to get out of here, but let's talk to that for a second.
Yeah.
Habib's like Justin Gaethje was looked at as Habib's biggest challenge. Why? Because Charles has that. Charles has that. I mean, Khabib had that ability to take you down. Khabib can wrestle you from any position. Like, Charles is not a dominant wrestler. Charles is a jiu-jitsu player. He's a guy that needs to chain those things together. And when you're getting cracked in your space and your skull is being broken, I just don't think that Charles is going to have the wherewithal. I think he's going to do what Charles does. Basically what I'm saying is, if you put you put Justin Gaethje in that same scenario that Michael Chandler was in when he hit Charles and Charles fell to the ground and Charles was on all fours, and Michael Chandler was hitting him, and I think Gaethje finishes him in that situation. I don't know what Dustin Poirier hit him, and then Dustin Poirier, instead of going for it, what did Dustin Poirier do? Get up, let's get up. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think that. I think Justin's a dog, bro, and Justin's like he's a hitman, bro. He's an assassin.
He is, but so is Charles, though. That's the thing.
Charles needs to grab his back because he's not going to take Justin to the ground.
That's what I think. That's what I think he's going to get the back, leech onto him, and that's going to be it.
I just want to talk about like two technical aspects of the fight. One, I think it's both for Justin. I think Justin should go hands only. I don't think he should throw kicks. Agreed.
Really?
I don't think he should throw kicks. I think if he went hands only against Khabib, that fight would have gone longer. I know people think he was hurting him with the kicks. He was hurting him with the punches too, and the kicks are what was taking him down. I think he should go boxing only on Charles, and I think he should absolutely no matter how bad he hurts him, he should never fall him to the ground. Let him up every single time.
Wait, last thing I'm gonna say is me and Teddy talked about this daily, and this is the last point I'm gonna make tonight. I think that Justin Gaethje, Daniel had alluded to earlier, is entering into the stage of his career that Dustin Poirier was entering into a couple years back, where he had the choice to make between Conor McGregor or fighting for the lightweight championship. The mistake that Dustin made is he thought the lightweight championship was always going to be there. Remember, Dustin went on a crazy run after he had back surgery. He beat Dan Hooker. He beat Justin Gaethje. He beat a bunch of guys. And I think that Justin Gaethje is entering that point in his career. I'm not gonna say he's untouchable because he's not. Everybody's touchable, but where he's just on a whole different level mentally and physically than where he's been anywhere else. I just think that when you're entering into that point, when that opportunity presents itself, I think that there's something to be said. And I think he brought something out of Charles this week where Charles is going to fight emotional. I think we're going to get a very remember I said it when Conor walked out. I texted y'all in the group chat when Conor walked out to Dustin Poirier. I am willing to bet my life tonight we get a very emotional Charles Oliveira. And I think that emotional Charles Oliveira is going to lead to more mistakes. And he already gets cracked every single fight. So when you got those two combined together, I think Justin might punch holes in his head.
Yeah, I want to say two things real quick. Justin facing Khabib was the best thing that happened to him. And I think that having the experience of Khabib versus Oliveira now, okay, I rewatched that fight. Khabib was after him. And yes, Oliveira says he's going to walk forward. It's not the same as Khabib, though. It's not the same pressure.
It's pretty close. Watch him fight Dustin. Charles' forward pressure is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like yes, he's going to forward pressure, but when I watched that fight, he was, and the difference was Gaethje took the step back. Gaethje was circling, and I don't think that.
Now that's a good. The threat of what he's walking down is different because he's not threatening a double.
He said it. He said in an interview. He said, "I don't think Khabib and Charles are on the same level." He said that recently in an interview. He said, "So people keep comparing them." He was like, "I don't think the threat is the same there." I think he gave Khabib and. Correct, like don't kill me when I say this, Daly, or and the rest of you guys. Like, I think he gave Khabib way too much. It's like when people fought Floyd. Teddy, we talked about this. People fight Floyd Mayweather, and they've already beaten themselves psychologically to forget they're getting there because they're like, "What I can't do to avoid." I got
more so, yeah.
Right, and I don't think that we're seeing the same. I think he really thinks Charles, in my opinion, is. I'm not going to say the word on the show because I'm professional, but. I think he thinks Charles is.
We follow your drift.
Yeah.
But one other thing, one last like technical thing while I'm thinking about this fight is like, Mike has talked about like slipping to the back. One that I think Gaethje also needs to like. Gaethje loves the clinch. I think Charles could eat one shot to take his back in that ink. I think Gaethje needs to fight at range.
Yes.
Like almost similar to how actually very similar how his teammate Kamaru Usman fought Gilbert Burns, like straight punches at range, not even really 4-punch combinations. Because at some point Charles could just decide I'm gonna let him punch me in the face to take his back.
Right, to grab him.
I do think if Charles takes his back, it's probably over.
That's what I think.
Yes, I just don't think Charles realizes how hard Justin hits, and I don't think Justin realizes how good Charles is either. But I think both of those are on a collision course. Whoever figures it out first is going to win.
Yeah,
because I can promise you, if Justin hurts Charles, he's going to finish him. I can promise you that.
I love that. One of them, like in the press conference, was calling it like a car crash. And I thought that was
Gaethje.
Like
yes.
whoever has more lug nuts
like,
is gonna win.
I'm seeing like I don't know, like growing up where I grew up and stuff like that, guys, and just the way like Justin's talking to him, me and Teddy were talking about, he's talking to him heavy, like he's talking some heavy stuff to him. He's pretty much saying like, I'm gonna bring that out of you. Like I know what you are on the inside. Like he said, once a coward, always a coward. And I know people don't like to say that. We give champions a lot of respect. Juliana Pena spit that same stuff to Amanda. He said, I understand you're champ. I'm not giving you none of that respect. At the end of the day, we got to fight. And Justin is saying that exact same stuff to him. And I think he's talking heavy to him. And I think there's something he knows, man. There's something he knows.
Well, he's been saying that for a while, too. And let's see if the prophecy comes true tonight. I don't think it will. I think he cracks Charles like we talked about. But I think Charles has just been around too much to not get that submission, even with the missed weight. So we'll see how that unfolds, though. This is a great show. Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/TWSN. It's free money. Who doesn't like free money? There's a ton going on. Not only a ton going on in the UFC, but Canelo, Dimitri Bivol, they're fighting. I think Canelo's going to get a stoppage in the 8th round. Real quick, do we have any predictions on that? If anyone wants to throw anything out there?
Canelo stoppage.
Canelo 8-12 stoppage. It will be late. I just think Bivol is not experienced enough. He's a monster. He's big. Canelo will struggle with the size for maybe 3-4 rounds, but he'll start hitting him with shit he's never seen, and I think he'll fold late.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I think Canelo,
if they make, I will bold boxing prediction right here. If they make Canelo Alvarez versus Alexander Usyk at 201 pounds, Canelo Alvarez will lose that fight.
Yeah, he will. They're not going to make that though, because you still got Triple G, and Canelo has other business at 168. I wouldn't like to see that fight for Canelo, but
I think it would be a fall from the shadow around that he has around him right now would be ripped away.
Yeah, he would be better at fighting Macabre or someone else. But anyway, that's the boxing talk for tonight, though. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to my co-hosts, Malik Wright, Ted Ashbrock, Daniel Alameda. It was a pleasure working with you guys. But that's going to do it for this edition of the live UFC preview show for UFC 274. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Twitter, and the Patreon. Take care. Peace.
Welcome everyone to the TWSN Betting Patreon. If you like making a little money and want an entire team do the research for you daily, come join us here. We have 5 different packages: Rookie, Starter, Veteran, Hall of Fame, and GOAT, with each one increasing in different types of betting analysis for you. Just know if you subscribe to any one of these tiers on the TWSN Betting Patreon, you're getting a team that is putting hours and hours daily into the best bets, into the futures bets, into any question that you have. So there's only one thing left to do. Join the TWSN Betting